Hello, and welcome back to Futura's League of Legends LP. This is the second part of the first tutorial episode, wherein we will try and complete the battle training. Alright, without further ado, let's go in where we will jump on to the actual proper map of the game.
This is the champion selection screen. Each summoner must select a champion to control in the coming battle.
So champ select screen, pretty straightforward.
Normally, there is a time limit for selecting champions, but in this training mode, you may take as much time as you need.
Very accommodating.
The champion roster displays champions currently available to you. For this battle, you may summon Ashe, Garen, or Rise.
Yeah, so in this window there'll be champs available. Initially you'll only have the free week champions, but as you buy champions with RP and IP, RP being the premium currency that you pay for, and IP the currency that you gain through games, you'll get more and more unlocked. Alright, for now let's continue on.
Ashe is a ranged attacker, able to continuously deal physical damage to foes from a distance.
Alright, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the classifications of heroes and how you differentiate them, and you definitely don't need to remember all this right now, but in future episodes it'll come up a lot. So first off, Ashe is an AD carry. That means that she scales off of attack damage and off of items. So basically she's going to be right-clicking on things to kill them. And hopefully she'll do enough damage to carry her entire team by just killing everyone else. And as an AD carry, because she has kind of an iffy early game, because she scales with items but doesn't actually have that much innate power, she will generally be going bottom lane with the support there to babysit her. We'll talk a little bit more about why the duo lane goes bottom later. Alright.
Garen is a melee fighter, a fierce warrior who charges to the front lines of battle.
Alright, so Garen is, a melee fighter, as they said. But the technical term for him is a bruiser. A bruiser is a character that has a lot of health and a significant amount of damage. Generally they go in the top lane because they also scale decently off of items, and they're not really needed until the mid game and late game, when people's towers start going down and people start roaming around the map, and because they're a little more self-sufficient. So he would generally be on the front line of battle, tanking damage and trying to keep people off the AD carry and other squishier targets in the back line.
Rise is a mage, a spellcaster who unleashes destructive bursts of magic damage upon enemies.
Yeah, so Rise is what we call an AP carry. There's basically two offensive statistics in the game. There's attack damage and ability power. So attack damage is, remember, what Ashe scales off of, which is just your right clicks. Whereas ability power, it lends more power to your abilities. It makes them deal more damage, stun longer, that kind of thing. Actually, I don't know if there's any way to stun longer. Basically, it just deals more damage. So, Rise is an AP carry, so that means that similar to Ashe, he wants to sit generally in the back line behind the bruisers and other tanks and just poop out damage. Just so much damage with his abilities. And generally, the AP carry will go in the middle lane because they want to be able to gank, which means to go and kill someone, the top and bottom lanes. And because they need the extra, solo lane farm. Alright, so that's kind of the idea of an AP carry. And remember, I'm going to go over these again and again as they come up in the different episodes of the LP in the future.
Here you can see which champions your allies have selected.
Alright, very briefly, let's see if we can... Okay, let's go through the characters really quickly just to give you an idea of some of them, the champions. So first off, we have Sivir. She's an AD carry, and she relies on her abilities to deal a ton of damage. Like, here's her Boomerang Blade. So basically she relies on abilities to deal damage, and has an AoE speed up spell, and is an AD carry, so she'll go in the bottom lane. Master Yi is a AD assassin who generally goes in the jungle. There's 3 lanes, which all have the neutral creeps that we saw in the tutorial, pushing across. And then there's the jungle in between that has neutral monsters. And generally for a jungler, You want someone who doesn't need quite as much money to be effective, like they have good base skills, and you want someone who can also generally gank effectively. So he's a jungler, and so he runs around killing people in other lanes. And he's called a melee carry, which means that in this case he scales off of attack damage, and he can carry the game. Carry basically just means that you can get big enough that you can win the games essentially for your team. So he's a melee carry. He gets big enough in the close combat that he can carry the game. And he's very vulnerable to CC, but if you don't CC him and you don't stop him, remember CC is crowd control, like a stun or a root, then he can just tear apart teams. And Soraka is a support. She focuses on healing, and she is essentially a babysitter for the AD and the person in charge of maintaining vision control on the map, which means getting down wards, which are these little placeable items that give you vision, and destroying enemy wards, because having vision lets you make plays. She's also a badass goat lady, so that's pretty dope. Alright, finally we have Shen, who is another top lane bruiser, sometimes a jungler. Basically, he is just a straight tank. He has abilities that make him tankier, and he also has a cool ability to teleport to other champions in danger. So that's just like a sampling of the wide variety of champions that we're going to see. There's 116 of them. As the LP continues, you'll encounter quite a few. Alright,
You can use the chat box below to discuss strategies with your allies before the battle begins.
Alright, let's type a little message. Hello, allies. Alright, nice.
You may select 2 summoner spells to assist your champion in battle. Click one of the spell icons.
Alright, so right here, these 12 spells are persistent. They're universal. So any champion can select these 2 spells to use. Now, which ones in specific you use varies quite a bit depending on what champion you're playing and what role you're playing them in. In the case of Ashe, as an AD carry...
Spells you've not yet earned have grey icons. Unlock them by completing battles and raising your summoner level.
Yeah,
Select 2 spells by clicking them.
So you gain them slowly over levels. I'm 30, so I already have them all. So as Ashe, we're going to want Flash, which lets you teleport a little bit and get out of the way, and Barrier, which gives you a good shield for defense. So let's pick them quickly.
Runes and Masteries provide bonuses to your champion. You can view and customize them here.
Alright, so Runes and Masteries are sort of a meta level outside of like the individual instances of each arena game. That you gain 1 mastery point every level, and eventually you'll have 30 that you can assign, and with runes you can buy them for IP, which remembers what you get from playing games in the store, and set your rune pages beforehand, and get different loadouts for different champs.
Masteries provide offense, defense, and utility bonuses. Earn mastery points by increasing your summoner level.
Alright, so let's set our masteries. So let's say this is our Ashe page. And for Ashe, we're going to want a lot of attack damage. So we just go down this tree and get the attack damage. And don't worry too much about the specifics of this, because there'll be guides for that. And you'll figure it out as you go. And it does vary for every champion, so it's a little iffy just giving hard and fast rules. Basically for Ashe, we're getting all of this, which is attack damage bonuses, and then this, which is some mana bonuses, because she does like to use her abilities in lane. Alright, there we go. Got our masteries.
Selecting a rune page grants customized bonuses to your champion. Rune pages can be edited in your summoner profile, but not during champion selection.
Yeah, so rune pages you set before you start a game, and they also give you bonuses, but not everyone has the same runes. You actually have to go out and buy them. So for us, what we're going to be using is a rune page called Corky that gives you basically physical damage, some lifesteal, and armor, as well as some cooldown reduction, which lets you use your abilities more. So the reason you get more damage is because you're an attack damage carry. You get armor because generally when you go in the bot lane, you're going to be fighting another AD carry with their support who will deal physical damage that armor protects against. as opposed to MR or magic resist that protects against abilities. And then last off, cooldown reduction because she is kind of reliant on abilities to get her damage out. Alright.
Skins change the appearance of your champion and can be purchased in the store. You can browse through skins by clicking on the cards.
Alright.
The lock-in button confirms your champion selection. Summoner spells, rune page, and skins can still be changed until the timer expires.
Alright, so very briefly, skins are just cosmetic. They change the appearance of the champ a little bit. And you can buy them in the store. It's a big part of how Riot makes its money off this, otherwise free-to-play game.
You are now ready to play. Make any final adjustments and click the lock-in button to summon your champion to battle.
Alright, we're ready to go. And keep in mind, you don't need to be super worried about understanding how summoner spells, runes, and masteries work immediately, because they're going to become much more clear as we learn, keep doing them and using them in future LPs episodes. Alright, here we go. Godspeed us. And Splashtop Streamer, which apparently isn't loading. Alright. So this is an artist rendition of Summoner's Rift. Not quite true to life, as it were. There are no mountains. The lanes aren't really arranged like this, but it gives you kind of an idea. It's a little wooded forest that, for some reason, in the lore of the game, the different warring kingdoms have decided to resolve their legal disputes in. So, rather than having courts, they have this map where people just fight shit out, the different champions. So whenever you're playing, you can think of yourself as essentially being a lawyer, which is pretty compelling storytelling right there. Yeah. And, if you want to learn a little more about lore, there's a lot of opportunities for it on their website. For now, let's jump right into the battle training.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift. Victory on Summoner's Rift is achieved by destroying the nexus located in your opponent's base.
Alright.
There are 3 lanes on this field of justice, each with its own turrets, inhibitor, and minion waves. Your training here will include a series of quests and tips that will guide you to victory. A quest has been added to your quest tracker. Primary quests are main objectives that your team must complete to win a battle. Secondary quests are optional, though completing them will improve your chances of victory. You'll also receive bonus gold. Move your mouse over the quest tracker to reveal more details about quests. Well done! You have just received a tip. Click on the tip icon above the minimap. Good job! Watch for tips to appear throughout the battle. Minions normally begin spawning after 90 seconds, but with this training, they will not spawn until your champion leaves the base. You are ready to begin your training, Summoner. Purchase a starting item from the shop and exit the base to start the battle.
Alright, so quests actually don't appear in the main game. This is just for battle training, so I guess it's a little confusing that they say that helps you win the battle, because really it doesn't. But what can you do? Alright, so here we are, Summoner's Rift, which is a rather large map, as you can tell, with 3 lanes. Top lane, well, that was not very smooth, mid lane, and bottom lane, with a river dividing the middle, and jungle in between. And I'm going to point on the map here. Okay, so remember, 3 lanes. The neutral, allied minions will spawn down and just fight each other endlessly. And then neutral creeps that will spawn in the jungle that you can kill for XP. An objective called Dragon in the bottom of the river that gives you a bunch of team gold. And another called Baron that gives you even more team gold that spawns at 15 minutes and gives you a very large buff. So, that's basically the setup of the map. What your goal is to push down these turrets and kill them. all of them, all of them, and then get to the inhibitors, kill those, get super minions spawning, which are very powerful and will help you push down and attack the Nexus turrets and the Nexus. So this game is actually more about objectives than kills. So you want to focus on getting things like the dragon and the baron and the turrets, generally more than killing things, because all of those things give you really significant team-wide gold that's worth more than a kill. For example, a tower's worth like 2.5 kills, a dragon's worth probably 3.5, baron's worth like 5. So that's really what can give you a huge gold advantage. Alright, so let's get into buying an item. Alright, so recall from the tutorial that there are a absolute fuck ton of items, and you'll choose different ones depending on which character you are, but luckily there is a recommended item tab over here. So for Ashe and for most AD carries, you have 2 choices for your starting items. Either you can get Boots of Speed in 3 pots, which you can use, health potions, or a Dorian's Blade. What a Dorian's Blade does is gives you extra health and attack damage, and lets you gain back life from shooting things. So it lets you sort of sustain through a lane, and stay in longer, getting gold longer. The Boots in Pots does not give you the extra damage or health, but it does give you more direct health regeneration just with the potions, and it lets you dodge things better. So, if you're afraid of a very strong all-in from your opponents, like if they're just going to all-out attack you, or you need to dodge a ton of crowd control, then you'll want Boots and Pots. Otherwise, you generally want Dorian's Blade. Because we're not very afraid of the bots, we're going to get Dorian's Blade. And obviously this is different for every character, although I guess this is a constant. The starting item is pretty much constant across most AD carries. But every different role has different items, so don't worry too much about that right now. We're going to get into that in later episodes. Alright, let's get our Dorian's Blade. And remember, you have your abilities to level. Ashe has, first she has her passive, called Focus, which is an ability that you don't cast, which just sort of happens. And basically the longer she doesn't attack, the closer she is to a critical strike. Then she has her Q, which is Frost Shot, that lets her apply a slow on every auto attack. So when she hits someone, she slows them. Then W, which her Volley, which is what we're going to level, which is a nuke that shoots out like this, and slows and damages enemies. She has Hawk Shot that you can shoot out for scouting information, and her ultimate ability, Enchanting Crystal Arrow, that shoots an arrow way the fuck across the map that actually just continues endlessly. It deals some damage and stuns. So, away we go. Out into lane. And obviously there's a ton of different abilities, 4 per champion. Sometimes more. There's some 6 ability champions. And it does take a while to memorize them, honestly.
Know the battlefield.
Alright, so as we discussed before, there's top, middle, and bottom lanes. Top, mid, and bot, which is where people fight. We're
Clear
fighting
a
in
path
bot.
to an enemy turret and destroy it.
Alright, so here is our opponent's turret that we're going to try and kill. It looks like Shen and Sivir are coming to help us, which is not how it would be in a normal game. Generally, it would be us and, say, Soraka, remember, who's a support bottom lane, but I guess we're 3-manning. If you've played Dota before, you know that actually the tri-lane is definitely a thing, and there's some more experimental lane comps. But generally, in League of Legends, because there's so much gold in the jungle, and you can actually get most of the gold on the map, there's no reason to try those things. Alright, remember we're trying to last hit. Oh my god. Except, they're very good at last hitting, so we're just going to kill the champions. Remember, stutter step, you want to move forward after every attack, and then shoot. Move forward, shoot. Forward, shoot. Forward, shoot. Forward.
Stay behind your minions.
Alright, it's dangerous to go under turrets alone, but if you're going to get a kill like that, it's worth taking a turret shot. The way that turret priority works, as I discussed before, is first they hit... Oh my god, I'm doing a terrible job last hitting. First they hit minions, then they hit champions, unless you attack an enemy champion. Then it'll attack a champion first. So you want to be careful and juggle the aggro of the tower. Here's our hawk shot. See, it shoots that little scouting thing. Really handy. Helps you watch for ganks, which is when an opponent, an opposing champion,
Push to the
comes to
enemy
try and kill
inhibitor.
you. That's called a gank. He might be able to escape. Nope. Alright. I'm not focusing on last two that much, because there's just such easy kills. But in the real game,
Use the recall spell to return
good
to
rule
the
of
summoner
thumb
platform.
is it generally about every 15 CS or creep score, which is minions you kill, is worth 1 kill. So if you can either deny,
You have a lot of
oh, you got a
gold.
lot of gold, cool. If you can either deny the enemy 15 creep score CS, or get yourself 15, then that is worth a kill. Alright. So you really...
Beware of ambushes.
Alright, yeah, remember. Ambushes or ganks are when other characters leave lane to go kill you. Whenever someone in your lane leaves, you should call MIA or missing in action to the rest of your team to let them know that danger is afoot. So this game is, a lot of it is about...
Be wary near
oh my
turrets.
god. I'm just gonna go home. I have a ton of gold.
Use brush to your advantage.
Alright, brush is, see when you go outside of it, you're invisible to people, sorry, when you go inside of it, you're invisible to enemies outside of it, so you can use it to juke, or if someone's shooting at you, you can run away and hide there for a little bit to let your cooldowns restart, or to get an extra attack or two in. Very handy. And I forgot what I was talking about right before that, so that's okay. So yeah, remember, recall when you need to get money, when you have enough money to buy stuff, when you're hurt, or when you are running away from opponents and you think you have a chance to get back home safely. Alright, so, we're gonna get, you see here is there's these essential items, we're gonna get the Infinity Edge, which gives us a lot more attack damage. Oh, it looks like we destroyed a turret. So remember, turrets give you a lot of gold. But anyway, we're gonna be working towards... See, there's recipes, do you remember, for the thorn mail that we built
Enter
in
the
the
jungle
tutorial?
and defeat the wolves.
Oh, we're not going to enter the jungle. The next episode should have a jungler featured. But we're going to build Infinity Edge, which gives you a lot of attack damage and gives you a higher critical strike chance, so you can randomly get crits. And it also makes your crits deal more damage. So remember, Ashe's passive gives her an extra critical every now and again, so for her it's even especially good. So watch we don't have it yet, obviously, the item that is, but we do have a BF sword, which is just a BF sword, that item, part of the recipe, which does just a ton of damage. Alright, so now remember I said before that generally you don't want to just sort of randomly auto attack, so there are exceptions to that. Although you usually want to just get the last hits, because if you just get the last hit, then the minions are alive for longer, soaking up damage. So that means your minions will walk across more slowly, and the line of battle, where they meet, will stay pretty constant. So you won't have to so let's look at it. Okay, so for example, if your minion line is here, right, as blue team, then people can come from here and gank you really easily. Whereas if you've only been getting last hits and your minions aren't pushing ahead, then they have a much more difficult time coming to kill you. So during the laning phase especially, you want to be careful of how you move the minions. So right now, because we do have an advantage, and we're not really afraid of ganks because they're bots, we are going to be pushing down the turrets, because we do have a significant number of people here, and we feel comfortable doing it. And also, attacking more will let us, push the minion waves further along and kill these turrets. And manipulating minion waves is something that's honestly very complicated. It's something that I definitely don't really have fully figured out at all. But it's something that we'll talk about a lot throughout this LP. And I'll try and give examples of it as we go along. So that's just something to think about for
Destroy the exposed
now.
enemy
That is something that we'll
inhibitor.
talk about a lot more.
Unlock your champion's ultimate ability.
Alright, here it is. Enchanted Crystal Arrow. Let's see if I can show that for you soon. It can shoot across the map, or it can just shoot very, very close, and it deals damage as you saw, and lets off a quick stun. So we've done a good job of pushing down the turrets. In fact, such a good job that people have come from other lanes to help, which they really should have done a lot earlier, but they didn't because they're
You have a lot of gold.
basic bots. Alright, so we're going to kill this inhibitor, get the super minions, and then because we're low on money, on health, and we do have a ton of money, we're going to recall and go get that Infinity Edge that I talked about. Alright. We're almost... Okay, I'm going to sell this Doran's Blade to get enough money for it. I should have timed that better. But, oh well. Alright, it looks like things are going well there. So now that we've gotten this lane entirely pushed in, I'm going to push down the middle lane as well. So we can have super minions spawning in both lanes, which will create a lot of pressure on the map. So basically, remember, the goal is to kill your opponent's base, not just kill their heroes. So, when your team is grouped up in one lane, you have a lot of minions pushing another lane, then you've effectively created another threat for your opponents to worry about. The threat of the minions pushing down and killing their base. So what you want to do, whenever you're pushed out down the map, is to make sure that you have minion waves elsewhere also pushing. Because if, for example, we were mid lane and the enemy minion waves were here and here, then we would be like, actively losing turrets as we like vied for position in the mid lane. Which is obviously hardly ideal. So, you really do need to think a lot about how your minion waves are pushing. It's a big part of the strategy of this game.
Watch out!
Beyond just fighting. Alright, so we have our Crystal Arrow up again, our ultimate. So let's see if we can get a hit on these dudes. I'm going to predict that they're going to run away. Please run away.
Stand together.
Did someone just get in the way? Wow, Nasus got in the way. He was standing there and I accidentally hit him. Alright, well, rest in peace, Crystal Arrow. Let's just throw out a hawk shot, keep tabs on him. Alright, so we've got two inhibitors down, and the super minions are going to be spawning in two lanes, and given we're all such low level, that's pretty much going to spell doom for these dudes. We could go get Dragon, or eventually Baron once it spawns, but frankly we just don't need to, so we're not going to. But in the real games that I'll be showing soon, we definitely will do that. And there will also be people in the jungle doing ganks and what have you, and it'll be really cool. But for now, let's just
Victory is near.
Let's just
Destroy the enemy
Let's kill
nexus.
this little poor child. I don't know why they feel okay sending a child into this, like, terrible arena, but, what can we do? We're gonna flash a little bit, use our barrier, and end the game. Alright.
Welcome to the post-battle screen. Here you can review champion statistics and chat with other summoners from the battle.
Alright, let's go to the post-game screen. Eventually. There we go. Alright.
You can mouse over this bar to view an explanation of the influence points you earned. Influence points can be used to purchase new champions and runes in the store.
Yeah, so influence points, or IP, are the currency that you gain by playing games.
Here you can view detailed statistics about each champion. Click the tabs to see more information.
Alright, this just tells you like how many kills you have, that kind of thing.
Here you can chat with other summoners from the battle, or add them to your friends list by clicking the button next to their name.
And this is the section where post-game people say terrible things because you can't be reported for it.
You can also right-click on a summoner's name to ignore them, or to report them for offensive behavior.
You can't really see it because there's no other players in this game, but that's actually something reporting when people like misbehave or just dicks. that comes up kind of an embarrassing amount in League of Legends. Alright, so that's that for this episode. This is just the post-game screen. And hopefully, you've begun to get an understanding of some of the concepts like how minion waves work or the importance of objectives and how combat and stutter stepping is. But don't worry if you still have no idea what the fuck all that means, because frankly a lot of it's just confusing and there's a lot to it. So tune in next week for the end of these tutorial episodes and the beginning of the LP proper. Thanks a lot for watching.